So at this point, I want to turn to the reason we all came this morning, which is to find out what's going on in our city. I'm going to turn the podium over to first our mayor, Alice Patino. She's going to share some city accomplishments and discuss some of the projects that the city is working on to improve our quality of life. When the mayor is finished, Rick Haydon will join us and talk about fun things like budgets, and she gets the good stuff, right? So would you please welcome Mayor Alice Patino.
All of you for coming this morning. I'm amazed at how many people get up so early in the morning and they're still smiley. It takes me a while. I don't like to start talking before 11 o'clock. My husband is a morning person, but I am not. So he's had some adjustments to do. I don't like to adjust those kinds of things. It's really nice when you can say the Pledge of Allegiance. People know how important it is, and in this group you can really see it. There's oftentimes I go to functions that men don't know they're supposed to remove their hat, or people just stand there like, okay, I'm going to stand up for a while. My grandkids rodeo, and so when you go to a rodeo, they know they're supposed to be quiet when the Star Spangled Banner is played. They know that they're supposed to put their hand over their heart, the Pledge of Allegiance, and when the flag comes through in the arena. So I see it all different ways, but it's so important. I think it's so important to me, it's so important to our country that we respect these things. So that's my soapbox. The state of the city. As you well know, we have really a new city council now. So there's the old guys like Jack Boyson and Etta Waterfield and myself. And so we were able to welcome on Dr. Moats and Mr. Cordero. So this is a whole different dynamic in changing on the city council. And we're happy to have them there. It's a little different. It's getting used to. It's going from one relationship into another. But we all work together and we're going down the same road together. We just were forced into district elections. I think we did that on a 3-2 vote, and economically, I understand it was what we needed to do. I don't think it fits Santa Maria at all, and I was really dismayed that we had to go to district elections, and right off the bat, it cost us $30,000 to pay this attorney down in Santa Barbara, who was the attorney that was suing the person that came in fourth place, a low fourth place, so that we could go into district elections. When you have over 70% Latino in our community and 3 of us on the city council are, that is not enough for some people, and we're not their kind of Latino. So here we are in 4 different districts. Is it going to change anything? No. People seem to think they want their own representative. You still have to call 911. Your garbage gets picked up the same way. Potholes get fixed the same way. If there's a fire in your district, there are some districts that have more fires going on than others. We're not going to cut them off just because they have their quota of fires. So it's not really going to change anything in Santa Maria. And one of the criteria, though, we had was everyone that spoke wanted the downtowns, the specific downtown plan in everyone's district, and so we tried to do that. And then equal population of voting age, so that you have to do. And then we wanted to keep the, and then we wanted to do equal representation on renters, because we wanted to make sure, this has come up in the past few years, not probably before that, but about renters and their rights, and so we wanted to have that in the different districts, and we were able to accomplish that. So now people will have 4 different districts. The mayor will be at large. Some people spoke that they did not want the mayor at large, but I think there was about 2 people out there, and it was okay for the rest. I did not take it personal. Mayor's Task Force, as you well know, MS-13 came into our city and set up shop, and people were murdered. But the reason the Mayor's Task Force really got going is that a coalition, One Community Action, came together, and we wanted to do something about the youth in our community. Because the youth that are joining gangs, we know it's important to go down, probably down to the 5th grade. And there is also generational people in gangs that perhaps we can do something about. So we put together the Mayor's Task Force. And I just want to briefly read you a list of, we didn't pick them by person, we picked them by position, which is very important. But we have Steve Labanito from the 5th District, Peter Adam has sent Bob Nelson from his district, and myself, City Manager, our Chief of Police, our County Sheriff, our DA. Now Joyce Dudley's not been there, but she has sent someone in her place. Alex Posada, Director of Rex and Parks. And then we have the superintendents of the school districts. We have the head of the Boys and Girls Club, Glenn Morris from the Chamber, Community Action Commission, Fran Foreman. So what we've done is we have picked the top people, the decision makers. Now, I know that maybe people have said, how come you don't have someone from the community? How come you don't have youth on there? We picked people from the top of their, whatever their, if they were CEOs or if they're agencies at the top. These are the people who can make the decisions. I don't want someone third string sitting at the table and saying they've got to go back and find out if they can do this or not, or if they've got the money to do that. I think we need to have people that really buy in to this and know where they can get the resources if we need them, and they can get the people that have boots on the ground that are going to work with the kids, and that's what we really wanted to do. I also brought the woman in that runs the Literacy Council because I thought that was really important in our community, that these kids and these parents, because we're going to be dealing with the whole family, know how to read and know how to speak in English, because what happens, the kids are, just like when we were kids, things got filtered to your parents, you keep them on a needs-to-know basis, but it's really, that's what my younger son told me, but that's what is so important. He told me that later after I realized what was going on. But that's what is really important, is that the communication continue. We've had 4 public forums to solicit input, so we have gone to the community and asked people what they thought and how we can help our youth in our community. And we're in the midst of gathering the data. When you look at the data, and even I, knowing the community as well, or Felix as far as here knowing the community as we do, it's really remarkable when you see the data out there, and we welcome all of you to these meetings. But when you see the data, you know where you've been, and you know where you need to go, and you know where you need to spend the resources. If you don't have that data, you're just out there in the dark, really. But it's when you get good hard data. And then when you have to go out and apply for grants, or we go to the Board of Supervisors to ask for money, we have to have the data there that backs up exactly what we're doing. The Board of Supervisors did offer us money, but it was one-time money. So we decided we wanted to, first of all, we wanted to hire the person for Santa Maria, that lived in Santa Maria, that knew Santa Maria. We did not want to hire someone in a suit and tie that was going to just shuffle papers around on the desk. And we hired Eddie Galarza as our outreach coordinator. He has got amazing connections in this community. I taught at the junior high level, had him as a student, and I've known him for a long time. But it's really interesting because I go places with him many times, and he knows people that maybe I don't know or maybe I haven't seen since I was teaching junior high. But we should have a strategic plan on our violence prevention probably in September. As I mentioned, Operation Matador and the indictments that are coming forward, I want to just read to you the people that were picked up on this. March 3rd, over a year ago. 3 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock back in Ohio. And that's how far it was reaching. And many of you have seen on the national news how The MS-13 is in Virginia, Pennsylvania, they're all over the United States. But they picked Santa Maria to set up shop, and they came here just to kill. But the names are important, but I want to read you this. One was 31 years old, one was 24, 21, 25, 27, 25, a couple in their 40s. These people came here and stayed here about 2 years. They did not attend our schools. They were not part of our community. And so I don't care what kind of programs, what kind of money you would have invested in the community, it was something we could not have prevented unless unfortunately, you can't pick up someone until they've committed a crime. So I think it's really important to know these people did not go through kindergarten up through 8th grade at Fessler or El Camino and then go to Santa Maria High or PV. They came here later, they came to kill. And that's exactly what they did. Our outreach coordinator, as I mentioned, is Eddie Galarza. He's doing a great job outreaching. I think he probably makes contact with about 100, I think it said 166 kids a week. So he and I have gone to the high school. We've spoken to about 15 high school kids. And we basically say, do you feel safe in your school? Do you feel safe walking home? Do you feel safe walking to school in the morning? What would you like to see us do different in Santa Maria? And there was things that I assumed that they knew, but they didn't know. For instance, they didn't know they could belong to the Maldonado Center and it was free for them. They didn't know, some of them, that we have tutoring programs going on at the Maldonado Center. So all these things that it's important for us to know, but they don't know. And so we've learned a lot. We've gone in and have contacted, he and I, 40 fifth graders and asked them the same questions. And do you feel safe? Do you feel safe in your school? And you can see just by the look on their face and their responses. We were going to go to Los Prietos tomorrow, but obviously that got canceled. But we will be going out there. We will also be doing the juvenile hall, our gated community for kids, and we're going to be doing a survey with them. But we're hearing pretty much the same thing no matter where we go. So to appoint one kid to the mayor's task force, I don't think is really representative of the youth of our community. And what's interesting, they may go to a school like Pioneer, and if they live close to that school, they feel a lot safer. They have to walk across Broadway and wherever they live. The parks, they go to the different parks. These kids go to different parks. And some parks they feel safe in, and some they don't. And they have told us about circumstances that have happened. So all these things we can put together. This is data that we need because we need to know where to put our resources. We have this Spanish Citizens Committee, Academy. This has been really interesting because Chief Martin put together this academy, and people come to the academy and they're able to find out what the police are really doing in our community, what the SWAT team does, what their processes are, and they take them on when they ride around. They call ride-alongs. Okay, and they even have the opportunity to go to our gun range and do some shooting if they want to. And so I attended one of them in the Spanish speaking, and the Latino community needs to know that our police force is with them, that they can trust us. And so this was an academy made up of about, I think it was about 20, 25 people there. But it was really interesting. So I went and I had asked the man that runs the ICE here in town, and to speak also, because there's been a lot of misinformation about what ICE is doing in Santa Maria, and we've got organizations that tell people that ICE is going out and doing sweeps. They are not doing sweeps. They're picking up the people in our community that need to be picked up and either incarcerated or deported. And so these people are really good at asking questions. But I went there and spoke. The police chief was there speaking, and Steve Finn from ICE was there. And they didn't direct any questions to me or to the police chief. They were all directed to ICE, which I think was important. And one gentleman even said, I know this is true because this happened to a neighbor. The guy should not have been here, and they got him. The Hispanic community also doesn't want, has these people living in their community, and they want them gone too, not just us. We are the realignment of Bradley. This is a major accomplishment. We were able to do this in record time. There's a property up in San Luis Obispo called the Delito Project that they've been working on for 30 years. They think maybe in about 10 years it'll be done. So we're really proud about what we can do things in Santa Maria and be more expeditious than we already are. But development is very important. I know everyone's asking, what's going in here? Because I know we have a Chick-fil-A going in, but everyone wants to know all the eateries that are going in here. I had this young man in the grocery store said, we want a Blaze Pizza, Blaze Pizza. So unbeknownst to me, Blaze Pizza was going in North Broadway. So within a couple of weeks after you told me that, I said, okay, it's opening up tomorrow. All of you in this room know how slow government works. So this kid probably didn't know that we work real slow. But anyway, he thought that was very, very bad. We have water sales going on, which is really smart for us. A lot of people say, why are you selling water? And because we have the access to state water, not our city council, but councils before us. Well, the council that Mr. Orrick was on, that's how smart he is, decided to buy state water, which is really important to the citizens of the city of Santa Maria. And if we don't sell this state water, it's at the San Luis Reservoir. If we don't sell it, it's going to be tipping off and running out, and we are going to lose it. Much like the water goes out Sacramento and into the bay. And so if we don't use it, it's just going to tip over and it's going to be a loss. So it's very important for us to do that. We are not going to deprive the citizens of the city of Santa Maria of their water. Not by a long shot. We have a lot of water. In October, we instituted no smoking in parks. Sister Janet has been on us forever and ever and ever, and always calls me about once a month to remind me. And we did it before the Prop 64, so that the people aren't smoking their pot out in the parks either. And it's really important. We'd go out to the parks, especially the tot lots, and some of the parents would be sitting there smoking, but these little kids are out. We're doing our Safe and Strong all summer long. I visited several parks last week, and I think we have 11 parks in the city of Santa Maria that are doing the Safe and Strong. And so these are places where kids can come for 3 hours a day. We've got trained people from the Recs and Park Department, and it shows you here the different things that they're doing. Presker Park is one. I went out to Grogan Park the other day, and there was about 4 gentlemen with red t-shirts that said ERA, one of your sponsors here, ERA Energy. And so I had a friend of mine that considers herself really an environmentalist. And she says, what's that ERA? I said, that is a nice oil company. I sort of let her get into it, how nice these guys were about coming out and helping out in the community, and they're out there playing with the kids. And I said, that is a nice oil company, and they just do a lot in our community. So, Prop 64 passed. Not as much in Santa Maria as in Santa Barbara. That's understandable. They are different from us, and they are different. And it's really too bad. I'm involved in Fighting Back Santa Maria Valley and a board member, and I don't think people are really educated on what it does to the adolescent brain. And we see a lot of people that have already burned up a lot of brain cells, and the information coming out of Colorado, and here we are doing it in California, and we're going to see more of it. People think that just because we regulate it, it's going to be okay. But the last conference I went to on drugs, the Cuban cartel was in Colorado. And I thought, that's interesting. I would have figured someone, from Mexico, one of the cartels from Mexico would be there, but it's the Cuban cartel. So it's there, and they're doing very well. They're doing a very lucrative business. In Santa Maria, you can't cultivate no more than 6 plants, and you can only smoke in private residence and delivery service within the city, which I was the dissenting vote. I think that as long as you make it available for people and for kids, I think the more damage it does to our community. The average age of a medical marijuana card holder is 35 years old. And I just think that's very, very telling about who's using this. In Santa Maria, you can't smoke in public, and the manufacturing, processing, laboratory testing, and all that is not allowed in Santa Maria. This has been a great, the Malhotra mixed-use project around Broadway, and the gentleman came to the city, and I thought, oh gosh, how are you going to make this look good? Jay, you almost lucked out and missed me. come on in.
No cheers.
Anyway, this looks beautiful now. You go down, it's next to the library, and it just looks great. And so it's a mixed-use project, and these businesses on the bottom and apartments on top. So we're just really pleased with what he's done. He told us, a lot of times people come in and tell us what they're going to do, and they don't do it, or it's sort of an abortion of what they said they were going to do. So this is absolutely beautiful. We also have across it is the reuse of the Heritage Oaks Bank, and there are doctors in there now. So that's another addition that looks great. Have any of you seen the utility art boxes around town? They look great. I did have one person say, "What a waste." I won't even tell you who it was. Anyway, I said, I think it looks good. And then our next phase of these are going to be all of the Arabia, but I just think they add so much. We have so many artists in the city of Santa Maria, and I think this is a great expression of what we have. The Buena Vista Park went out to bid about a month ago, and it's going to be a $1.2 million renovation and should be done by next summer. So this has been a long time in doing. We did Oakley Park on the northwest side of town, and when I had one of the town hall meetings, that was what the people wanted there. And so when you go to different areas or different neighborhoods in town, people have different needs and different wants. So we did the Oakley Park, and if none of you have been there, go see it. We have 2 softball fields, we have 2 soccer fields, we have a tot lot, and it's just beautiful. And then you walking path all the way around. But they seem to cost over $1 million, and it'll only increase. But we are very proud of what we do in our parks. We have 28 parks in the city of Santa Maria. We have, like I said, we have 11 of them now in neighborhoods that we're using for the kids to come. But the Buena Vista Park is across from the high school, would be beautiful. If none of you have signed up to serve Santa Maria, do serve Santa Maria. I think the next one is August 26th, am I right? August 26th. And we show up at the Maldonado Center, and then we go out to the neighborhoods and spruce up the neighborhoods, or we go to the parks and we put more bark out or gravel or whatever needs to be done. And you can serve and do anything you want. Last when I went to pick weeds at the Elks Rodeo Center. I don't. No, I don't think it's Utica-Calumet. Is it Utica-Calumet Center? Okay. And so I went and picked weeds out there. I probably should have been at home doing the weeds in my backyard. So my husband said, "There's plenty here."
I've got proof of that.
Pictures of my yard or the okay. I look out the window and I think, how do those things grow so fast? Well, it's all the rain we had. Anyway, it was great to work out there. And Judge Kay Coons told some of her people in her drug court, if you go out there, I will give you credit for that. Not only did they come out that one day, they went back. And I think that's really great to see the community come together. As you can see, there's a lot of people. This is probably just a portion of the people that show up there. They show up, some of them go to wherever they want. They're going to work at the beginning. You can stay as long as you want. Salvation Army provides lunch for all of us. Water is provided. It's a great event. So if you want to just show up, just bring some gloves, bring your clothes that you can get dirty in, or if you're going to paint, you can do that. You can see in that one picture down there, painting. The Serve Santa Marina's gone to so many schools painting a picture of the United States. So that is great. We do the Adopt a Road program, and we're always encouraging people. We do the cleanup on a quarterly basis, and we have city departments, we have churches, we have people in the chamber that are doing this. So if any of you are interested, you may do so. Our Hometown Heroes. This is a program, and we partner with the American Legion. The cost is $250. You can put a picture of your loved one up there if it's you that has served in the Santa Maria. I see Jim Bray smiling there. And then after 6 months, we take the flag down and we present it at a city council meeting. We're really proud of the people who've served our country, and we want to make sure that they know it. If you have not been to downtown Friday Farmers Market on Friday night, it is fun. There is a food truck there that has the best shrimp tacos I have ever tasted, and I do that taste test every place I go to see if they're just as good. I got City Councilwoman Etta Waterfield's hooked on them too. I mean, I just tell everyone these are good shrimp tacos. But you have a lot of food wagons there, you have produce there, you have great music. And we're using that as a venue to sort of thank some of the kids that have done very well. We had our CIF winners from Santa Maria High School down there. And last week we had the Crowd, which is a card club, which has donated $3,000 to the city of Santa Maria to help with youth. And we had Carlos Valderas down there, maybe a young man, swimmer from the Olympics. And I saw in the newspaper where our West Side Little League won. They've gone past the district, I guess. So we've got a lot of good athletes coming forward, and we've got a lot of kids in our community we need to recognize, not just the ones that are doing negative things. But come down there. The food is great, the music's great. It's really mellow. You're going to see a lot of families down there, and it's just wonderful. And then, for those of you who, Glenn said, if you've been in a coma or not, we didn't lose. Chief Martin decided to spend more time with his wife and his family, and she drug him, I don't know if they're gone yet, on a cruise to Alaska. And so we have a new chief of police, and I didn't see Phil there. He didn't make it, okay. And we're very, very pleased to have Phil Hansen as our new chief, and so are the rank and file in the police department. And we will continue on with what we are doing in the city of Santa Marina, making it a safe place for all of you. And like I told kids, when we go and meet with these kids in the schools, I said, this is your community. You deserve to have a safe, clean community. But you have to be our eyes and ears in our community. You are the ones that are going to make a difference, not just me, because I don't know anything that's going on. So at this time, I will turn it over to, I think this is the most exciting part. I will stay awake during this financial overview. Thank you so much.
I'm going to do a time check right now. It's about 20 to 9. To give you an idea, I have about 20 slides, so I'm going to power through this as quickly as I can. About 30 seconds per slide, so that you have some time for some questions. So let's start off with the economy. Unemployment. Unemployment in Santa Maria is significantly down. We're half of where we were back in 2009. We're a little bit over 6%. However, we're still higher than the state average, the county average, and the nation. But it has been improving steadily over the last 8 years. From a housing market perspective, the same thing. Housing prices are going up. According to Zillow, the median price of a house right now is about $356,000. It was $319,000 a year ago at this time, so we've gone up about $37,000. That's about 11% increase. However, and there is a however, if this line was continuous when we went back in 2004, you would see the average price of a house in 2004 in Santa Maria was about $350,000. So it's taken us a considerable long time, 13 years, to pull out of the recession and get our housing prices back to where it used to be. Because of the surplus and the inventory that we have and the building, our property taxes have gone up, which is a good thing. The city of Santa Maria primarily gets 30% of all of our revenue through property taxes. However, when you think of property taxes, you say, I pay a lot of property taxes. Little do people realize that the city is not the receiving end of a lot of those property taxes. The vast majority of property taxes goes to the school districts, elementary school district, high school district. Roughly 2/3 of it goes to the schools. Another 20% goes to the county of Santa Barbara. The city receives about 10% of all property taxes. Sales taxes, also up. Sales tax is the lifeblood of the city of Santa Maria from a revenue standpoint. We generate probably about 33 to 34% of all of our revenue from sales tax. So as with the economy goes up, so does the sales tax because there's more discretionary income. Those two revenues combined, sales tax and property taxes, make up almost 2/3 of our entire budget, which is why projects like Patino Ranch is very important to the city of Santa Maria. However, the other side of the story is one of our major revenues that we've received in years past, non-hazardous impacted soils, that's gone considerably down. We used this revenue stream back in 2004 to finance the firefighters for Fire Station number 4, basically about $1 million, and then also to hire 16 new police officers. If this graph would have gone back to 2005, 6, 7, we were receiving about $5 million a year in and year out of this revenue source. But because oil prices have declined, there hasn't been as much remediation within the valley for impacted soils, so that's why our revenues have gone down significantly. Overall, we ended the year about $65 million, the end of the year being June 30th. We anticipate about a $66 million budget going into next year, so we don't have about $1 million in revenues. Appropriations, though, although we ended the year about $65 million, we have about a balanced budget because we have a lot of positions vacant. We have a projected budget of about $69 million, which, if you do math, that means we're at the red. So, from a general fund perspective, revenues are at $66 million. However, we're using some of our reserves, which we refer to as the LEAF fund. City Council is back around 2000, 2001. At the time, it was Mayor Patino and former council member Borak. They put together what they call a rainy day fund, which they were receiving a lot of excess revenues, and they thought that we're going to have a recession one of these days. So why don't we put aside some funding? They put aside funding in the LEAF fund. It grew to about $12 million. We're down to about $6 million. We use that fund to bridge the financial gap whenever we have a deficit. So we're using about $2 million in one-time funding. So if we take that out of our ongoing revenue, we really have about $63.5 million in ongoing revenue to pay for police, fire, public safety, road construction, recreation parks, those types of operations, which cost $69 million annually. So you can see that we have a financial gap of about $5.6 million. It's about 8% deficit that we're looking going into next fiscal year. To put it in perspective, I like to view analogies a lot. Take a look at personal finances. If you see $66 million, well, if you take off 3 zeros, say it's $63 million. You see the ongoing revenues at $63.4 million. Take off 3 zeros, you're at $63,000. Say that's your annual salary. Your personal finances, you bring in $66,000 annually. Your yearly expenses are $69,000. Ours were $69 million. If you're in the red, $5,600 a year. What do you do to balance that? You use your savings account, you use your Christmas club, you use your kids' college funds. That's what we're trying to do to balance our budget this year. Financial gap, $5.6 million. We're going to use reserves of $2.6 million. We're looking at using, because we have a deficit then of $3 million. Expenditure savings, $2 million. Yes. How do you have expenditure savings? You don't spend money. How do you not spend money? You don't hire positions when they become vacant. So what we're doing is when positions become vacant, we're delaying in hiring them so we can have some expenditure savings. So at the end of the year, we don't have to use all of our reserves. That still leaves us $1 million out. With the finance director, we went through and we kind of shaved off some of the low-hanging fruit in some of our operating departments. We generated about another $370,000 savings, which still leaves about close to $700,000 in the red. That is now my problem, and now that's something that I'm going to be working on for the next couple of months to put together a financial plan so at the end of the year we have a balanced budget. That's jargon for working with employees to try to see if we can get some type of concessions in labor relations to try to help balance our budget. As far as Measure U, you'll know Measure U was passed back in 2012. The vast majority of all that money that was spent on public safety. Fire station number 5 at the north end of town was financed through Measure U funds. We hired 7 police officers and 5 sergeants. Operation Matador would not have gone as planned if not for Measure U. We would be browning out a fire station right now if not for Measure U. The residents had faith in city government. 65% of them passed Measure U. It was a general purpose tax. We said that we were going to spend it primarily on essential city services, police and fire. Here we are, 5 years later, spending 90% of it on police and fire. So I think we fulfilled that promise.
When does that go away?
That goes away December 31st, 2021. So we have another 4 more years. From a staffing perspective, you'll see in the general fund and overall within the entire city, 50% of our police officers, 50% of our employees are either police officers or firefighters. 1 out of every 4 full-time employees are a police officer. What are we looking at for the future? Again, trying to speed through this as quickly as we can. Maintaining city services. We're not going to be enhancing city services. Our goal is to maintain existing city services right now. Faced with a budget deficit, if you can maintain city services, you're doing a good job. And that's what our intent is for the next year. That means continuing with our police bike patrol. It's been a very popular service that the police department has been doing, riding up and down Broadway, up and down Main Street, going into places, going into alleyways, riding places where a police car normally wouldn't be. That has been a great deterrent in dealing with a lot of our loitering issues that we've had in the downtown corridor. The business community really likes the bike patrol just because of the services that they're able to provide on a first-hand basis. We're also going to continue with our community services unit, otherwise known as our beat coordinators. They deal primarily, these 4 officers, with the quality of life type of issues on a day in and day out basis within certain geographical areas of the city. Our city is broken up into what we refer to as 3 beats: north of Fessler, from Fessler to Morrison, and then from Morrison to the south of the city. Each one of those officers are in charge of quote-unquote quality of life issues. So they don't have to pull an officer off the street, off to a call. They can deal and be responsive to residents, to neighbors, and they know firsthand, because they're there all the time, those neighborhoods. We're still going to be maintaining firefighters and our fire service, recreation and parks, streets, and then library services. Those are still going to be maintained in the city of Santa Maria going forward. Even though we're dealing with a deficit, we're going to be working behind the scenes to make sure that we're maintaining city services. For the future, the big one is addressing our financial challenges when it comes time for pension reforms and pension costs. You've heard a lot of things about what's happening with the city of Lompoc. The city of Lompoc is no different than the city of Santa Maria than any other public entity in the state of California when it comes to defined benefits from the retirement system. Costs are going up. Right now, we're paying about $10 million in our general fund for retirement-related expenditures, pensions. Within 5 years, we're going to be paying $16 million. That's a 60% increase. So things are going to be more challenging. That means we're going to be having to work a lot smarter. We're going to have to be working a lot more with technology. We're going to have to be working a lot more with creative measures in which to meet our operational expenses. Smart city, safe city. That's the other way that we're going to be able to meet our financial challenges. Right now, we are deploying surveillance cameras throughout the city. Smart technology. They're going to be hooked up back to our police department so we can monitor those in a live process. We're also deploying fiber throughout the city right now. It's a public-private partnership that we're doing with Wave Technology. Our goal is to be the first gigabyte city on the Central Coast. We're within 1 year of having that come to fruition right now. The ability, once we do that, and we're able to, we have fiber throughout the city as far as conduit. We're now pulling the conduit right now with a private partnership. Once we're able to do that, we'll be able to provide high-speed internet. We'll be able to provide wireless technologies, and then we're also going to be able to provide broadband technologies at a very, very competitive rate as opposed to what the private industry is providing right now. We feel from an economic development standpoint, that's going to generate big profits to the community. We're also looking at it from a disadvantaged perspective. There's a lot of elementary school and high school students that need to get on the Wi-Fi. They can't afford to. Our goal is to try to make something very competitive from a costing perspective so they will have access. The last thing is the server farm. Over at our police department, we designed a server farm for computers so we can be a host server. We have 5 local businesses right now that would like to lease space out of our police department to house their servers. We feel that that's a money-generating profit for the city. We have the space. When you think of, and you need to house a secure location for a server, you need some place that, one, has redundant power, redundant air conditioning, security. Well, what's the most secure place in the city of Santa Maria? A 24-hour, 365-day operation that has men that are walking around and women with loaded guns. So we have that in the heart of our police department. Because of 911 technology, we need to have redundant power. We have to have redundant to redundant power. So we have a situation where we're putting together a venue that is going to be very attractive to not only community interests, but we also have people from outside the area that want to come and partner with the city of Santa Maria to have their servers now on the Central Coast. Update the general plan. That's the other thing that we're going to be looking at within the next 2 to 3 years is updating the general plan. The question that I get raised a lot of times is, well, how can you update the general plan? Because that's $1 million endeavor, and yet you're talking about having a deficit. Because you need to do the things you need to do in order to do the things you want to do. Okay, if we want to grow, if we want to expand, we need to make the effort to put forward a general plan update. And that will help the community from a development standpoint, from a zoning standpoint, and we've made a commitment that we're going forward in that aspect. General plan hasn't been updated in 25 years. And so it's something that we've done little pieces of it, but we've not done a broad, inclusive general plan application. And then update the strategic plan. The mayor talked about the mayor's task force on youth violence. We plan on initiating the strategic plan and coming to fruition with a plan to bring to council's consideration probably later this fall. And then finally, renewal of Measure U. The question was asked earlier, when does Measure U sunset? It sunsets in December 31st of 2021. But from my perspective, in order for it to be renewed, we need to take it to the vote of people. 2020 would make the most sense. However, if we don't get that renewed, then that's $5 million that falls off the table. So what I want to do is I want to take this before the voters in 2018, do polling this next year, and then see what the response and the support rate is to see if we can bring it forward to the city council. I think we've shown a proven track record. We made good use of the taxpayers' money as far as 90% of it going towards public safety. Like I said earlier, Operation Matador would not have happened without Measure U. And I think that we need to bring that before the people and before the voters sooner rather than later. Enos Ranch, we get a lot of questions about what's going on at Enos Ranch. The mayor mentioned that in her presentation. These are the list of some of the agencies, some of the businesses that will be opening up. Cracker Barrel is going to be the first Cracker Barrel west of Mississippi. We're in competition right now with Fresno as far as which one is going to be open first. You'll see right now a lot of changes going on over there with Costco. They have the fueling island that's already been done. Now they're doing the wall for Costco. The amazing thing is they plan on being open by September. How can that happen? Well, they're working 24 hours a day around the clock. It's a turnkey operation. They have their own people that go from site to site to site to build these things. So they are actually in competition right now with Lowe's to see who can open first. Also, my understanding, similar to a support for the ladies, for the men, we have Buffalo Wild Wings. Kind of like a Title IX in college. We have a Kirkland's, which will be the first Kirkland's on the Central Coast that will be opening up. Urban Cafe, there is one in San Luis. We're looking at working with the auto dealers of trying to bring some new brands to the city of Santa Maria that currently aren't here right now. Home Goods is going to be coming, Petco, Chick-fil-A, Dick's Sporting Goods is going to be coming forward, Old Navy, Lowe's. The biggest change that you see over at Enos Ranch is right now Lowe's. They're coming forward right now. They'll be opening up simultaneously with Costco. The question is always asked, why are you having a Lowe's? Isn't that going to hurt Home Depot? No, because they really market to a different consumer. They really do. Abbott, Burger, and then also a beautiful complex by Coast Hills is going to be coming up. That's going to be the anchor when you come right off of Bed Arabia and Highway 101. That's going to be one of the windows that people see when they drive through Santa Maria, and they're going to say, wow. I mean, if you haven't seen the architecture of that building, it is beautiful. They've done a great job with that. Lastly, Gateway Monument sign. You'll be seeing some construction work happening north end of town on the southbound lane. We're going to be putting a Welcome to Santa Maria sign in there. Some of the feedback that I've gotten over the years is, where is Santa Maria? I think I go through it, but I really don't see any signs. When you think of every other city you go through, there are always welcome signs. Welcome to Santa Barbara. Welcome to San Luis Obispo. We need a welcome to Santa Maria as well. So with that, I think we have enough time for one or two questions, either the mayor or myself.